So there's a word currently buzzing on the internet that rapper P4K of the Baby Stone Gorillas allegedly, with great emphasis on the allegedly, has some charges pending pertaining to him sending minors. So we're going to talk about it. But first, wipe your feet off at the door when you step into a pimp's domain. Let's go.
Bitch, you want all this pimping you can't afford. Perform like a punk, but want a winner's reward. Some suckers give you points, but bitch, you never scored. If you ain't paying pimping, then bitch, you getting ignored.
Okay.
I'm so sick of these.
So this situation first came across my plate via Hoodie from the Hood. And shout out to Hoodie from the Hood. He was speaking on it. But then he said that he heard from about the situation from Young and Hefe. Shout out to Young and Hefe. And when I went and saw what Young and Hefe had to say, he got it from a source called Respectable Rants. Shout out to Respectable Rants. Now, I felt it was necessary for me to touch on this because, I believe I'm the most qualified to speak on this situation, right? So, first of all, I want to say, blessings to P4K. Hopefully he's innocent of these charges. Hopefully, these charges ain't even really a real thing. This is what I want to say, right? The Respectable Rants channel who reported on this. Let me tell you how, people from the streets do things, because, I don't know nothing about you, but by the way that you went about things, it's my guess that you're not really a street dude, right? And I know it's a lot of people that get on the internet to create content that are fascinated with the street life, but don't know anything about the street life from firsthand experience. So let me tell you, man, what caught my attention, which most people gonna overlook because everybody is addicted to the drama, everybody's addicted to the nonsense, so they gonna overlook certain details that somebody like myself is gonna catch, right? As I've said before, I'm a skeptic. I scrutinize everything. I don't believe anything that I see on the internet, and I don't just hear things, take it and run with it. No matter how many people reporting on it, I do my due diligence to find out as much as possible about the truth of the situation or falseness of the situation before I speak on it, right? So again, one thing that stood out to me about the Respectable Rants video was that you had these allegations, but you didn't put any case numbers up. You put what appears to be paperwork up, but you didn't put any case numbers. You got these allegations next to his name, next to P4K name, but you don't have any case numbers on there. You have bond numbers from alleged bonds that he paid to get out of jail, but you don't have any case numbers. That to me is skeptical, right? In the streets, we don't put these kind of charges on somebody unless we have actual factual proof. And if you're gonna put this out there, at least give the people the opportunity to question what you putting out there, right? Give people the opportunity to, prove that what you putting out there is actual and factual, because again, there's a lot of nerds who get on the internet and are just fascinated with the bullshit, and they know they can get money with the clickbait. So, they just say anything. That's my point. So if you're not one of those people that are just saying anything, put the case numbers out there, right? So this is why I say allegedly as far as these charges, because until I see some case numbers, I really don't believe any and everything that I see. So, but let's deal with the situation of P4K from Baby Stone Gorillas, right? Now, the reason why I say I believe I'm the most qualified to speak on this is because a young man in his age group, which he's, I believe, in his early 20s, like 22, I think, if I'm not mistaken, somebody in his age group is too naive and green to speak on this, right? And then you have certain older guys who've spoken on it that are out of touch and not thinking about it from a 22-year-old's perspective in the year 2025, right? So And then everybody is too square to speak on this shit because they don't know what it's like to be a young man endeavoring to be in the game, right? And especially in these times, right? But they don't know about it from that perspective. So that's why I say I believe I'm the best qualified to speak on this shit. So whether or not P4K is innocent or guilty, this is what I will say, right? For a 22-year-old young man endeavoring to be in the game, you know, having 304s and whatnot, the fact of the matter is most young cats, when you young and you having action and you moving chicks left and right, which, you know, somebody in his position who's got the clout of a rapper, you know, I would imagine he got a lot of chicks, you know, giving him action, right? But whatever the case, if you a young man and you getting action and chicks is constantly trying to mess with you, it's a very low likelihood that you're checking everybody's ID, right? And see, I'm gonna tell you what a lot of people ain't gonna tell you, especially people in the game, right? You know, you got a lot of dudes that's older now and, you know, been pimping since they was young, and they try to make it seem like they never made certain mistakes. Hey man, if you never made certain mistakes, then you never pimped, right? But the truth of the matter is, anybody who started in the game young and green, like most of us have, and matured to an older age, there's a high likelihood that you had a minor and still to this day don't even know it. Because again, when you young and fresh in the game, you're not checking everybody's ID. It's not wise, but it's real. It's the truth, right? Sometimes we don't know fire is hot until we touch it. No matter how many people tell us it's hot, no matter how hot it appears to be, we don't know the heat until we actually touch it in a lot of cases, right? So with that being said, man, hey, a lot of cats ain't checking everybody's ID, and there's a high likelihood that somebody that's 40 years old that was pimping when they was 20 years old had a minor when they was 20 years old, but thought that minor was 18, 19, 20, but they was really 15, 16, and still to this day, you don't know because you never checked her ID. You just got blessed by the game and the mercies of God to not have to touch the fire and realize how hot it is from touching it, right? So with that being said, it's very highly likely that somebody in that position, you know, is having chicks that are underage without even knowing, right? So you know, it's very possible, but it still doesn't negate the fact that as a grown man, you have to be held accountable. You're responsible. That's your responsibility as a grown man to check the IDs of whoever you're dealing with, right? So, you know, ignorance is no excuse, right? The law is not going to excuse you. The courtrooms and the prosecutors and judges, they're not going to excuse you due to your ignorance, right? You still got to be held accountable as a grown man, and the streets ain't going to excuse you neither, right? So whether you check IDs or don't check IDs, it's still your responsibility. And if you fail to check IDs, you got to be held accountable. But I'm just speaking the real, right? Letting it be known basically that, you know, some guys that are young in the game, they don't intend to send on minors. They just so happen to do it due to negligence, right? Now, in this young man's case, they're alleging that he has 2 charges from 2 different situations pertaining to minors, right? And some people might say, yeah, you know, you might be able to get away with it once, man, but you know, you might have slipped up once, but if it happened twice, then that's really who you are and that's really what you do. Again, you got to think about it from a 22-year-old's perspective in 2025, right? See, what I know is that a 22-year-old in 2025 is not the same as a 22-year-old in 2003, 2004, when I was 22 years old, right? The 22-year-olds back then are completely different from the 22-year-olds right now, and it's not even fair to compare because the world was so different, right? And when you were 22 years old in the early 2000s, you were more reliant upon yourself and learning from trial and error, because a lot of things that are done for you today, you had to do yourself back then, right? The world wasn't as convenient back then as it is now. So because the world is so convenient now, that means young people they're less independent than young people back in the day. So because they're less independent, they rely upon a lot of other people and things to do things for them that they should have to do themselves, right? So with that being said, it wouldn't surprise me. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, it wouldn't surprise me if a young man in today's times got a minor, don't know it, get smacked for it, then get out, have another minor, don't know it, get smacked for it, because the wisdom ain't there. The maturity ain't there for the 22-year-olds of today like it was the 22-year-olds back in the day, right? But so that's just giving the benefit of the doubt. That's me playing devil's advocate, right? Because I know that's the devilish side that a lot of y'all don't want to hear and a lot of y'all don't want to consider. So again, that's me playing devil's advocate, right? Now, on the other hand, let's say that he's well aware of the fact that he had these minors and, he got smacked for it 2 different times on 2 different occasions, right? In which he was well aware of. Hey man, like I say all the time, you reap what you sow. So, but nonetheless, I just hate to see youngsters trying their hand at something that they ain't got no business trying their hand at, right? And for the record, whatever the case, one thing that is a fact for sure is that P4K is not the pimping. That young man is not no pimp, right? But in today's times, young ladies endeavoring to be 304s, they like to choose anything that looks good. And to them, a lot of rappers look good, right? Because they got the clout, they got, some of them appear to have money, even though a lot of them don't really have money. That's a whole different conversation. But, a lot of young chicks, they like choosing rappers, right? So I can't be mad at a young rapper who, just minding his business in the 304 want to come give him some money, right? So this is why you have a lot of young rappers acting like pimps, because they getting shows, and I can't be mad at them for getting shows, right? Especially if they not actively campaigning, which I don't think a lot of them are. I think they just getting shows, right? So, but I had to say that, this young man, he's not no pimp at all, right? He's probably more of a gangbanger first and a rapper second, and a wannabe pimp third, right? So that's, the pimping first. The pimping is a man first and then the pimping, right? It's not no whole bunch of things in between, and the pimping is the last thing on the totem pole. No, pimping is, top of the totem pole for a pimp, right? A pimp ain't got no whole bunch of slashes on his ass. A pimp ain't putting it on the dead homies. A pimp ain't got, a whole bunch of hood tattoos all over his face and all that type of shit. No disrespect to the young man, but that's just not what the pimping is, right? Pimping ain't about that. So, I just had to let it be known because, a lot of people just loosely put the pimp tag on any and everybody, right? When it don't belong, right? And I don't want anybody to think that this young man is a representation of the game, because he's not. In spite of what he may be guilty of or innocent of, or what may be true or false about him, one thing that is for sure is that he's not the pimping. So don't go for that, right? But whatever the case, man, this should serve as a cautionary tale to a lot of young dudes, right? Because a lot of y'all just ain't cut out for the game, right? This goes beyond just the P4K dude. It's a lot of young cats, especially in LA, trying their hand at the game, man. And a lot of y'all ain't got no business messing with this, right? Because, you gonna cross yourself out, so fast due to your nature, due to your ways, and how your nature and your ways is contrary to the game. You be so quick to crash out over a broad, because like I've said before, you treating the broad like your property. You know, that gangbanging make you real possessive. You know, when you a gangbanger, you possessive of your hood, you know, your hood store, your hood park and all that type of stuff. You possessive. And anybody that, you know, you see as a threat to your possession, you ready to crash out. So when you come into the game, you go from treating, you know, your hood territory as your possession to treating the broad like your possession, because this is what you know, this is what's in your nature to do, right? It's in your nature to be this way. So you treating the broad like your possession, and you know, the game don't go like that. Pimping understand it, you know, the girls belong to the game. So it's fair game, and you know, they got the right to choose whoever they want to choose. So if they don't want to choose you no more and they decide to choose the next individual, hey man, the way the game go, you know, we respect that. And we don't fight against that. You know, we don't crash out on other gentlemen in the game because the broad made the decision to go get with this other guy, or even less than that, we don't crash out on other gentlemen in the game for shooting a shot at a broad that might be with us at the time. Like a lot of y'all do. Y'all be ready to crash out as soon as you see somebody saying something to your chick, right? Because it's really your girlfriend is doing favors for you. She not really no 304 and you not really no pimping, right? But you know, again, this should serve as a cautionary tale if it is true, because this is gonna happen to a lot of y'all that think you know, you think you slick, or you think you sharp, and you think that you good enough to be in the game, but you just not cut out for the game, right? This shit ain't for the weak-hearted, and it's not for the simple-minded. And a lot of y'all's hearts is too tender and your minds is too simple to even think about being some pimping. For real. So it's best that you just leave it alone, man. It's a whole lot of other things to do. It's a whole lot of other ways to get money. And you know, a lot of y'all is really tricks, and it's much simpler to pay the chick to leave than to try to maintain and micromanage this chick at the same time that you trying to do all this other shit. You gangbanging, you got enemies, you ducking and dodging, you looking out, you can't pull up to this gas station, you can't pull up wherever you want to pull up, you know what I mean? And you trying to pimp at the same time. You know, it's just too much going on. Just leave the pimping to the professionals, right? Just stay away from the shit. And like I said, man, it's much easier to be a trick. I know on the West Coast, you know, it's frowned upon to be a trick as a young man, young black man, but hey, man, you know, you get on your Janet Jackson, man. Don't give a damn what they think, man. Get your trick on, man. It's a lot simpler, and tricking is gonna keep you out the penitentiary. You know, if you do ever get booked for tricking, it's a slap on the wrist. They ain't sending tricks to the penitentiary for tricking. But, you know, they, you know, we used to joke about cats being arrested for impersonating a pimp. Hey, it's really a crime nowadays, because that's what a lot of y'all doing. A lot of y'all are going to prison for impersonating a pimp, not even actually being a pimp. A lot of y'all are sitting on the yard right now, you know, filling out canteen ducats because you was impersonating a pimp, right? So, yeah, man, leave the game alone. You know, go on about your business, do whatever you do, figure out something else to do. Hey, man, and then, you know, a lot of y'all is just too slow. The world is real fast. The game is real fast, and your movement is too slow for this shit, right? So just leave it alone, right? But let that marinate on your mind one time. Freezes it. Hopefully, you know, this is just some nonsense clickbait rumors on the dude P4K, but I just had to speak on it because there was a lot of game to be discussed on this topic. But whatever the case, best of blessings to that young man. Freezes it. Go ahead, put some of this good old love in your body like so. And of course, as always, long live the incomparable Sinful to P. We out. Dig this.
Yeah.
I've been stroking relentless to get waves like this. I spoke into existence for her to pay like this. In the trenches on a day like this, traffic consistent, and so I have to insist that she relay my chips. It's a trap with her name on it and my game on it. Any forces coming against this game, shame on it. Standing on my pimpin' from day one and remain on it. It carried me through every terrain and I gained on it. Experience joy and pain on it, sustained on it.
But getting back to this game that I never left.
Baby, yeah, where you been?